My name is Jessica Clogg. I'm West Coast's Executive Director and Senior Counsel. And I realized on my way here today that we're rapidly approaching the 15-year anniversary of the day that I first joined West Coast as a student many years ago. And it's great to see so many of our friends and colleagues and supporters in the room tonight. And West Coast is a long history. For over 35 years, our team of staff lawyers has successfully worked with communities, First Nations peoples, non-governmental organizations, the private sector, and all levels of government to develop proactive legal solutions to protect and sustain the environment. Indeed, we played a role in shaping many of BC and Canada's most significant environmental laws. To this work, we bring the conviction that law reform is not simply something which is done in the halls of Victoria or Ottawa, but in small gatherings and in forums in communities around the province and at events like this. Tonight we're pleased to present the first in a series of dialogues for legal innovation designed to engage thought leaders and decision makers in achieving law reform that protects the environment. Our objective this evening, and for West Coast Dialogues for Legal Innovation series, is to bring together diverse perspectives to help shape solutions to complex legal and policy issues that affect the well-being of British Columbians and our communities. As you know, tonight's dialogue focuses on emerging solutions for clean, green power in British Columbia. The tremendous response to tonight's event highlights just how much the future of renewable electricity generation in BC matters to individuals, to organizations, to governments. It matters because climate change threatens our water, our lands, our communities, and indeed our very survival. The urgency of the threat demands action, and making the shift away from fossil fuels and toward responsibly developed renewables has a part to play in the solution. And yet I believe, as I know many in the room do, that we have a moral imperative to make those shifts in a way that does not threaten the very values we were seeking to uphold in the first place. The integrity of our environment, the rivers that form its lifeblood, and the democratic principles that we wish to inform decision-making in our society. Our ability as citizens to play a role in shaping the decisions which will affect our future. Thus, while government energy and climate policies have stimulated a rapid increase in the rate of development for renewable electricity projects, many projects have been opposed for legitimate environmental, social, and economic reasons. The controversy that has resulted has been painful and divisive, and many of you have experienced that personally. It has impacted potential investment in proposed projects in a sector that may have an important role in the economic and environmental future of our province. Renewable electricity generation may well have an important role to play in our environmental and economic future, but fulfilling this promise will require that concrete legal and policy solutions are found to the dilemmas which divide us. There will be mistakes as we chart new territory and trade-offs. There is no energy project that is completely without environmental impacts. But the groups who crafted the recently released recommendations for responsible clean electricity development in British Columbia, and I want to acknowledge the groups who participated in that, the Watershed Watch Salmon Society, the David Suzuki Foundation, and the Pembina Institute, who co-authored the recommendations along with West Coast, as well as the approximately 24 other organizations who have endorsed them. This grouping believes that there are concrete solutions that could dramatically improve BC's approach to clean electricity generation. limiting environmental impacts and making it more transparent, strategic, and inclusive of, and indeed beneficial to all British Columbians. So the challenge is before us, and as we shift now to 3 short presentations, I'll be urging you all to be listening and thinking about the extent to which the recommendations proposal starts to get at some of these high-level considerations, and likely there's much more to be done. So I'm going to first introduce Josh Patterson, who's staff counsel at West Coast Environmental Law. He works there with First Nations and communities to advance law reform solutions that hasten the transition away from fossil fuels and towards truly sustainable, renewable sources of energy. He will be followed, there you go, someone's to turn the mic on. Josh is one of the co-authors of the recently released recommendations for responsible clean electricity development in British Columbia. He will be followed by 2 respected professors. First, Professor Bob Gibson, a professor and associate chair of graduate studies at the University of Waterloo. Professor Gibson works mainly on environmental and sustainability policy issues. His work is centered on decision-making successes and failures in environmental planning and assessment and regulation in various Canadian jurisdictions. He'll be followed by Professor Mark Jackert, a professor at the School of Resource and Environmental Management at Simon Fraser University. He is a professor specializing in green energy systems sustainability. He chaired the BC's Utility Commission from 92 to 97. He's currently serving on the IPCC Special Report on Renewables and is the lead author for sustainable energy policy with the Global Energy Assessment. Josh is going to introduce the recommendations proposal. The professors are going to comment on it and further elaborate on reform recommendations. I'm going to encourage them to just proceed one after each other, and the full suite of presentations should take us about 30 minutes.